Okay, I'm told that there are no public speakers. I hope Murray's okay. Jim, you want to, first of all, we got the approval of minutes. Okay,
Minutes be approved. Second.
all right, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, approval of the committee work plan. Jim, you want to take us through that?
Surely, there are no changes to the committee work plan, and I'd like to inform the committee that the posting of the rebates for the Staten Island customers have been finalized, and for the commercial vehicles sometime early in the summer, so we're working on that. So I'm pleased to announce that has been completed by our back office service, Xerox. If there's no questions, we'd like to move on to the report on operations.
The summary is on page 13. Paid traffic in February was 18.7 million vehicles, which was 1.1 million vehicles fewer crossings than February of 2013. Snowfall was the primary factor in the decrease, 27.8 inches this past February compared to 13.1 inches in 2013. Rainfall was also higher at 4.9 inches this year compared to 3.8 inches last year. Easy Pass volume declined by 5.7%, and cash and other payment methods were down 14.7%. Passenger car travel was down 5.8%, and other vehicle travel, which is mainly trucks, was down 4.2%. Preliminary results for March show volume of 23.4 million, which is about the same level as last year. More detail on March traffic will be provided in the next committee meeting. Unless there are any questions, this concludes the report on operations.
If there are no questions, we'll move on to the safety report.
Good afternoon. Page 25 and 26 are charts and graphs showing the 5-year summary, customer collisions and injury collisions, and employee accident reports and lost time injuries through February. Please take a look and review, and unless there are any questions, that concludes my report. Thank you.
Any questions?
We'll move on to the Easy Pass performance report. Don?
Thanks, Jim. The Easy Pass report starts on page 27. The February market share was 84.5%, about 1.6 percentage points higher than a year ago. Almost 12,000 Easy Pass accounts were open in February, about 4,900 of them Easy Pass on the go, or 41%. And of course, the in-lane tag sales continue to be very successful. We're now over 311,000 on-the-go tags sold in the lane since that program began. If there's no questions on the Easy Pass report, I'll move on to the financial report, which begins on page 33. Yes.
How are we doing with collections?
On the Henry Hudson?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're going to report to you next month on that, so we'll give you an update.
Okay.
The financial report begins on page 33. Through February, our toll revenue was about $8.1 million, 3.4% lower than planned due to the severe weather in both January and February that Jim just spoke about. Total expenses through February were about 10.5% better than planned, lower than planned. Non-labor spending totaled $24.3 million, 10.8%, $2.9 million below plan. And non-labor spending was about $4.4 million better than planned, about 10.4%, due primarily to lower payroll expenses due to vacancies. Overtime was about 3.8% below budget through February, about $167,000. The total support to mass transit through February was more than $134 million, about $6.5 million, or 5.1% better than planned. If there's no questions on the February report, I'll move on to the year-end report, which is on page 47. I'll just go over this very quickly. We reported much of this information to you already, so if you have any questions on the report, we can answer them either today or in the future. For the year, our toll revenue was about $1.645 billion, about $16.3 million, 1% above the final estimate due to the mild weather we saw in October and November. Total expenses were about $424 million, $24 million below the final estimate. Non-labor spending was about $16.7 million lower than planned. Labor spending was about $7.8 million lower than the final estimate. And our total support to mass transit for 2013 was just over $1 billion, as you recall, which is about $36.7 million above the final estimate, about 3.8%. That concludes my report on the year-end report and the financials. If there's any questions, happy to answer them. Otherwise, we'll move on. $1 billion. Yes. Yes.
So that's about 60%
That's correct.
of the revenue
That's
collected
exactly.
goes back to mass transit.
That's correct.
in that contract.
That's correct.
Since your revenue in 2013 was above budget and expectations and your expenses less, I think that you should be the parent authority and everybody else at the MTA should be the subordinary children authorities. Could you do that?
So moved.
That's how it used to be.
If there are no further questions, we'll move on to the capital projects program.
Good afternoon. The report on the capital program can be found starting on page 73 of the book. In March, there were 15 commitments made with a total value of $7.1 million. Year to date, there have been 29 commitments made with a total value of $22 million. This compares to a plan that calls for 19 commitments and a value of $20.8 million. Through March, there were no planned or realized project completions. And again, through March, there were 5 task-level closeouts, which totaled $5.7 million. A number of changes to remaining 2014 commitments are shown on the bottom half of the page. There were no changes to remaining completions. And unless there are any questions, that concludes my report.
If there are no questions, we'll move on to procurements.
Good afternoon. The procurements start on page 85. There are no non-competitive procurements. There are 2 competitive procurements. One is for the modification of a personal service contract to increase funding for additional necessary design and construction support services for the integrated electronic security system at the Throgs Neck Bridge. That's in the amount of $524,973.23. And the other is for a modification of an all-agency miscellaneous procurement contract for fuel delivery, adding funds to address the increased cost of fuel in the amount of $1,450,000 through the expiration of the contract. These 2 procurement actions total $1,977,973.23, and they're detailed in the enclosed staff summaries.
That ends our report. Thank you.